On June 22nd, 2015, Barack Obama shocked America.
It is incontrovertible that race relations have improved significantly during my lifetime and yours, and that opportunities have opened up, and that attitudes have changed.
Yeah.
That is a fact. What is also true is that the legacy of slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination in almost every institution of our lives, that casts a long shadow. And that's still part of our DNA. That's passed on. We're not cured of it. Racism. We are not cured of.
Clearly.
And it's not just a matter of it not being polite to say nigger in public. That's not the measure of whether racism still exists or not. It's not just a matter of overt discrimination. Societies don't overnight completely erase everything that happened 200 to 300 years prior.
Never mind the fact that Mr. Obama's larger point were about progress in race relations and the persistence of racism. The media and the public seem fixated on one word and one word only.
As the massacre in Charleston continues to spark a conversation about race in America, new comments from President Obama getting a lot of attention this morning. While speaking with comedian Mark Maron on the popular podcast, the president again weighed in on racial tensions and the debate over guns. But this time, he didn't hold back in the language he chose that some of you might find offensive.
In an interview released this morning for the podcast WTF, the president spoke about the problems the country still faces on the issue of race. I've been wanting to listen to this and sort of get a sense of it because we have a warning for our viewers. He uses strong language.
Mr. Obama's larger point about racial progress and the persistence of racism were mostly ignored. The media instead fixated, once again, on one word and one word only. White media heads studiously avoided saying the word. Instead, black media heads were brought in to perform work reserved for blacks. In other words, ironically, nigger work.
Joining me now to talk about the remarks and President Obama and the race issue in general are CNN political commentator Mark Lamont Hill and Larry Elder, host of the Larry Elder Show on CRN Talk Radio. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Larry, let's start with you. Do you think people are making too big a deal about the president using the N-word here?
Basil Smikle Jr., president and founder of Basil Smikle Associates and contributor for The Hill, and Deneen Borelli, chief political correspondent for The Conservative Review and a Fox News contributor. And good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Bill.
Touchy deal.
Right. No, I disagree with you. We have been able to use that word on this network for the entire 9 years that I've been here.
We haven't done it.
We haven't done it. I've used it. I've done it the entire time that I've been here. And the guidance has been, if the anchor is comfortable saying the word, the anchor can say the word on this network. That has been the guidance.
Don, we had a correspondent a couple of years ago, and I've been here for 7 years. And that correspondent was reprimanded for using that term.
No, she was not. She was reprimanded for using an expletive, not for using that word.
That's even worse, Don, because that means that using an expletive is worse than using a racial epithet.
But it's not. She was using the no. If she was on television calling someone that word, then yes, she should be suspended for it. But if she's on television using that word in context as to what someone said or what was used in a court of law or what have you, then no one should be suspended for that. We should not sanitize that word by saying this person called such and such the N-word. No, that person didn't call that person the N-word. That person called Sonny. I know you're going to get upset. That person called you or that person a nigger. They didn't say the N-word.
I can't believe,
Don,
that you, as an African-American man, is going to use that word just
of course,
so flippantly.
because
Words
we're
matter,
using
and
it.
You should know that.
I do.
Do you use the word nigger in describing people?
Presently?
Yeah.
Overruled.
No, sir.
Have you used that word in the past 10 years?
Not that I recall, no.
You mean if you called someone a nigger, you have forgotten it?
The so-called N-word made its presence at the O.J. Simpson trial when it was revealed that it was a choice word of a prosecution witness. Media had a sensational story, but a hot, offensive
One thing
word
was abundantly
bomb.
clear from the tapes. Mark Furman perjured himself earlier in the trial while testifying for the prosecution. March 15th, 1995.
And you say on your oath that you have not addressed any black person as a nigger or spoken about black people as niggers in the past 10 years, Detective Furman.
That's what I'm saying, sir.
So that anyone who comes to this court and quotes you as using that word in dealing with African Americans would be a liar, would they not, Detective Furman?
Yes, they would.
All of them, correct?
All of them.
But the tapes prove otherwise. All told, Furman used the N-word 41 times on the recordings. He also brags about repeated instances of police brutality.
The media mostly went out of its way to report on Obama saying the word nigger, but not broadcasting it, except in obscure places at the ends of the earth.
Mark, one part of the interview made headlines all over the world. Have a listen.
Racism, we are not cured of. It's not just a matter of it not being polite to say nigger in public.
Now, the press ran with
Isn't that amazing? In my country, they would never even run the president saying that, even though he said it. Here in Australia, it doesn't matter.
No, we're not saying that. We're not saying it.
It's 'cause we don't have a racism problem. That's the difference.
How did you solve that problem here?
At a White House press briefing, 15 questions were asked about that one word. However, not one reporter dared repeat it verbatim. One reporter expressed feeling uncomfortable at even saying the euphemism.
I mean, by using that word, would you say that he had a goal in dropping that word, making the decision at that moment to say the N-word? I don't even feel like, I feel comfortable saying it out loud in the briefing room. So for him...
This absurdity was even evident when it was revealed that Rick Perry, then governor of Texas and a GOP candidate, had a hunting camp called Niggerhead.
At the beginning of this month, way back before it started snowing in my town, like it did today, back when it was shorts weather at the start of this month, on Saturday, October 1st, the Washington Post published a story that still now, weeks later, seems impossible. Rick Perry, governor of Texas for the last 10 years, now a Republican presidential contender, grew up in a place called Paint Creek, Texas, and nearby Paint Creek, Texas, his family maintained a hunting camp, and the name of that hunting camp was... something I cannot say, and it's not just because I'm on TV that I can't say it. According to the Post, the name was painted across a large flat rock standing at the gated entrance to the camp. Mr. Perry said that his family painted over the offensive name when they first started using the camp in the early 1980s, but the Post spoke to people who remember seeing the name painted on the rock much more recently. Now, the N-word head story about Rick Perry got a huge flurry of attention when it first came out, but then it pretty quickly went away. I think it went away in part because it's hard to talk about. You have to be awkward and very complicatedly verbose to discuss the offensiveness of a word that is so offensive that nobody wants to pronounce it.
Texas Governor Rick Perry, who is running for the Republican presidential nomination, is in the middle of another controversy, this one involving the name of the family hunting camp, a name that used to include a racial obscenity painted on a rock at the entrance.
The racial slur painted on a rock out front.
The racial epithet was visible on a rock.
The racial slur.
A racially charged name.
Rick Perry said his father painted over the word.
Perry's campaign maintains the name was changed.
Several people told the Washington Post they could still read the word as recently as a few years back.
The Texas governor had a camp that was called such an offensive name.
And racial epithet, that name, you know the one, that offensive one. It's hard to cover this stuff. And after all that initial and very tense and awkward flurry of initial attention right at the beginning of the month, the whole story about Rick Perry hunting and entertaining people at a place named for the N-word, the whole controversy went away quickly.
This avoidance of even merely repeating the word as a fact in legitimate news stories highlights an observation once made by Eric Holder.
Though this nation has proudly thought of itself as an ethnic melting pot, in things racial, we have always been, and we, I believe, continue to be, in too many ways, essentially a nation of cowards.
The media loves stories about racism without ever saying the verboten word. NPR did a 4-minute segment on the late fantasy writer H.P. Lovecraft, accusing him of being a racist. However, it did not have the journalistic integrity to present the facts to its listeners. Listen to how All Things Considered weekend host Arun Rath titillates the audience.
But there's trouble in Fantasyland. You see, H.P. Lovecraft was racist. Really racist. While for decades most of his admirers were willing to look past that, recently the controversy came to a head, with a petition calling to find a new trophy for the World Fantasy Awards. Laura Miller, a senior writer for Salon, explains how the trouble started.
Well, a writer, Nnedi Okorafor, who won the prize in 2011, her book was called Who Fears Death. Someone mentioned to her this poem that Lovecraft had written that was just incredibly racist, and she saw it and she became completely dismayed and hurt by the fact that this professional honor, which she'd been so proud to receive, was in the shape of the head of a man who would think these kinds of things about someone like her.
Nnedi Okorafor being a Nigerian-American writer.
Yeah.
And this poem is noxious. We couldn't say the title of it on the radio. It's awful.
And what was this poem by Lovecraft? On the creation of nigger. Why has a word that has been in use since the first Africans arrived in the New World, a key word, become verboten even in legitimate circumstances? As a matter of fact, the word can be found in American literature, songs, entertainment, advertising, folk terms, expressions, films, etc. That people were making an issue of his use in Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained underscored what some had called social amnesia, a collective repression of memory, especially bad ones.
There's been a lot of controversy surrounding the usage of the N-word in this movie.
No, nobody, none. The word would be...
Oh, I don't want to say it.
Why not?
I don't like to say it.
Have you ever said it?
No, sir.
Try it.
I don't like to say it.
Try it.
Really? Seriously?
We're not going to have this conversation unless you say it.
Yet 12 Years a Slave, a film by a Brit of African descent, had no problem with utilizing America's favorite verboten word. The film perfectly encapsulates the process of niggerization, dehumanizing, mocking, and instilling fear into a specific but manufactured class of humans. Niggers.
Nigger tore his shirt in two. Run, run, a patty roller get you. Run, nigger, run, well, you better get away.
This book is about the term nigger and about its strange and troublesome career in America.
While hip-hop culture is often blamed for its promiscuous use of the word, it was comedians such as Lenny Bruce who was trying to defang it in the 1960s.
Are there any niggers here tonight? Is he that desperate for shock value? Did he scrape the bottom bound to be that cruel to say, are there any niggers here tonight? Have I ever talked about the Schwartz and they left the room? Or the Moulin Johns or the Yons who placated some southerner by absence of voice when he ranted and raved about the niggers. Are there any niggers here? I know I'm working with a nigger. I think I see one nigger couple back there. Between those two niggers, 3 kikes. Thank God for the kikes. And 2 spicks and 1 mick. They have 2 spicks, 1 mick, 3 kikes, and 1 spunky, funky, hunky. Any more boogies? 3 more sheenies, 8 more guineas, 6 guineas, 7 wops, 6 grease balls. I pass 6 dykes, 4 kikes, and 8 niggers. The point, if President Kennedy got on television every day and said, I would like to introduce all the niggers in my cabinet, and all the niggers called each other niggers, they oftentimes stood in front of the Ophies, and every day you heard nigger, 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 in the second month, nigger would mean as much as good night or God bless you in your sneeze, or perhaps as much as I promise tell the whole truth, nothing but to do so help me God. Nigger would lose its impact, and it'd never make any 4-year-old nigger cry when he came home from school. Zagornish gives it the power.
But the man who dragged nigger off the corner into mainstream America was...
Cops put a hurting on your ass, man, you know. They really degrade you. White folks don't believe that shit, don't believe cops degrade. Oh, come on, those beatings, those people are resisting arrest. I'm tired of this harassment of police officers. Because the police live in your neighborhood, see? And you be knowing them as Officer Timpson. Hello, Officer Timpson, going bowling tonight? Yes, nice pinto you have. Niggas don't know them like that. See, white folks get a ticket, they pull over. Hey, officer, yes, glad to be of help. Here you go. Nigga got to be talking about, I am reaching into my pocket for my license. Because I don't want to be no motherfucking accident. Police degrade, I don't know, it's awful. You wonder why a nigga don't go completely mad.
While the word had broken out in the hip clubs during the 1960s, blacks had begun to redefine themselves using the word in defiance, creating a counter-narrative. There was no better counter-narrative example than the bad nigger who refused to play set for him by whites. Muhammad Ali's conversion to Islam and refusal to be drafted placed him in the canon of bad niggers.
And shoot them for what? They never called me nigger. They never lynched me. They never put no dogs on me. They never robbed me of my nationality, raped and killed my mother and father. What I'm going to shoot them for what? How am I going to shoot them? Them little poor little black people, little babies and children and women. How can I shoot them poor people? I would just take me to jail.
It still remains the insult, often directed at people of African descent.
How you catch a nigger? What are you doing, Bubba?
Or of course you haven't graduated and you don't know the Constitution of the United States and what it says.
Of what? That you could just walk around calling somebody a nigger?
Yes, it's called free speech in America. Right to free speech. Look it up.
Fucked up.
I called you a nigger. You're a nigger. Nasty fucking nigger.
Yet it has been directed at others. And embraced by some.
Woman is the nigger of the world. Yes, she is. Think about it. Woman is the nigger of the world. Think about it. Do something about it.
Americans have often been in denial of its sordid racial history. The U.S. Constitution never explicitly mentioned slavery or the slave trade. The southern states that seceded from the Union denied that slavery was even at the root of the rebellion, opting instead for the mythology of the lost cause. A country that used the word daily up until the middle of the 20th century now has an overreaction when a black president uses it in a very minute way to make a larger point. Has America become a nation of cowards, afraid of her ears being burned by a war, or is it conveniently a victim of social amnesia? Or both? How did a key word in American social, cultural, and political history become the verboten word?